Alrighty, guys. Good morning. Welcome to this Tuesday, February 10th. And we are looking at the market holding on to their gains from yesterday. It's backing off a little bit right now, but they've been holding on pretty darn good in the overnight. And we're still kind of right at this tractor area, the 69.50, a little bit above it. Yesterday was a second day, a little bit of a rally. So the first and the Friday rally, it wasn't just a one-off. It didn't turn into a big sell-off right away, but we're right back up to value again, and we're going into a week with a little bit of news. We're still in earnings, still getting earnings reports coming out. Most of the big tech has reported those, so we're not going to worry about that. But you can see here now we get a little bit of weakness right now. And going into today's trading, though, we had the small business optimism index came out in the morning. It came out 99.3, pretty good number. At 8:30 we get retail sales, employment cost index, import-export prices, business inventories at 10, 3-year auction at 1. But I think retail sales is going to be the one to pay attention to. That could definitely be a market moving event, but it's thereafter nothing much. And of course, tomorrow we get the employment situation, and that's going to from scheduled on Friday, so that's going to be a potential market mover as well. But right now, I would still start off range bound. Given the yesterday's trading and the overnight, I would just look for early weakness still to buy against. If the trade below that 69.60s, I'm taking off the long bias and going back range bound. So pretty straightforward start. Just starting off with the expectation that we may see further strength. But as we see further strength, we're also running into resistance at 7,000 to 7,015 here. So at that point, we can certainly find a short setup up in these upper resistance areas. So I would say we are primarily range bound. I would start off looking for early strength, slight bias to the upside. I was going to say this morning to buy against 69.80s, but we're all taking that out, and then 69.70s. That's where we are right now, down to the 69.60s. Now below 60s, we're still looking to buy weakness, but not as aggressively. At that point, they're pretty much back in the range, and pretty much anything goes. If they start pulling back, I would hold off until we get down into the 30s and 20s before I start looking for buying opportunities. So there could be a nice short there, and below 60s for moving it all the way down there to this little attractor area, going on a mode from Friday down here at the 69.30 to 35s. If they start taking this higher, short opportunities against 7,000, 7,010, 7,020, well, it's like 15 to 16 to 18 is kind of a little bit in between here. But 15, I would say 15 to 18. And then 7,026 is here. So this area of resistance. Above 26 takes out that 4-letter edge, and we are back up again back in the territory where we can potentially extend to the upside. So a fairly straightforward start. I mean, we have a couple of days of strength. And that's a good sign. That means that we didn't have the free-for-all market absolutely coming apart on us. And I would probably just expect that we are back in a range. I'm not necessarily looking for a big breakout, even if the market is kind of been building value here for quite a while without failing. So I mean, I'm starting to get a little bit more optimistic that we have a shot at taking out this high and heading higher. But we need an event for it. The only geopolitical event I can see right now, which can set this off to the downside, is that if they end up with a strike on Iran, that would be a geopolitical event, which I think is going to create a short-term sell-off. But that's the only thing I can see out there right now. It could also be the employment situation could set it off. I mean, it could be news as well. But we have scheduled news to pay attention, and we have a CPI on Friday to pay attention to as well. And either of those two potentially could do it. But CPI hasn't been that big of a deal lately. Employment situation could certainly do it. So but the news hasn't quite been that kind of market driving. Surprise news could potentially do it. But otherwise, I would expect the range-bound trading in this range. I'd look to sell up here to the 7,025s. Look to buy down here all the way down here to the 6820s. below the value area at 68, 70, 75. Definitely starting thinking about the short side at that point. So that's how we get started. And that's a bigger picture, pretty much range bound in the short term exchange member chart, still starting with a slight bias to the upside to see if they can retest the highs, potentially take it higher. As you can see, a bit of weakness. We were up here against the 7,000. We're back down here to the lower session lows right now at the 69.70s. I would still look to buy against that 69.60s, but below that one, I'm taking off that long bias and potentially looking for a short retracement trade down here to test these lower support areas. So that's the way I'm getting started on the ES. Pretty straightforward, I think. As you see, there's a little selling like right here at the 7:30 half hour. That's like right on a half hour. The whole thing, sell programs kicks in, and there you go, net selling going on straight down, and it's just interesting when that happens, and we'll see how far they're going to take it. But it's at this point, I'm still also now they're down here at they're down at 70s, down at not at 60s yet. Nasdaq is already down at the 270s, and if you look at Nasdaq. They were never as strong as the ES. ES going getting back to value. You see, Nasdaq hasn't quite gone back to that 700 level. They're just here reverse retesting the value area low on that prior distribution. So run out of gas there. So Nasdaq is the one still to watch, I think, when it comes to weakness. If they start dragging this lower, everything's going to kind of follow on the downside. So pretty volatile there, as there's some rotation out of some tech stocks into other tech stocks. I don't think it's not the sell-off that people sell and go sit on the sidelines. I think it's mostly as rotation between different sectors. What's going on? That's why you see some of these tech stocks, big sevens, getting hammered, and then they get them bought the next day, and then rotations into other stuff. So not trying to make sense out of that. That's just cyclical kind of portfolio manager moving the money around to what's kind of hot in the moment. But I'm thinking the big techs and the AI trade is still very much alive there. But it just causes a lot of volatility. So there you have it. So I'm starting off with a slight range bound. I'm not starting with a bias to the upside on the Nasdaq. Maybe looking for early strength. I needed to get back up above that 430, 440 here before I start thinking they have a shot at the long side release, taking charge or taking hold if you wish. But right now I'd look for short setups against the 360s and the 420s for rotations down. I would still look to buy against the 320s that are trading there right now. They have bounced below it, and the 270s. But below 270s, maybe give it one more level down here to the 220s. So below 220s, if that starts happening, well, just hop on the short side and see how far they want to run this. Because I mean that's Nasdaq for you. They take out if they can hold the first few levels of support, chances are you have a sell program in there, which is kind of knocking things out. And then they can take it quite a bit lower at that point. We just have to wait to see when that sell program stops. But right now, so looking to buy weakness at the 320s, 280s down to the 220s, rotations up. And if they take out that 220s, I'm just staying on the short side. But I'm not necessarily starting with a bias to the upside. I'm thinking that we have a couple of days of buying. But Nasdaq has been pretty volatile, and the fact that they haven't gotten up above a key resistance area, that tells me that there may still be weakness to come there. We'll see if they can get up above it today, close above it. That would be a pretty good sign that the market is recovering a bit. So that's the Nasdaq, the straight shot down for like 10 minutes, like net selling that thing, crazy. And then of course the bond market. The bond market is trading back up again to 116, and then they are drifting back and forth around that 116 level. So they go up, they go down, they go back up. I'm not necessarily saying anything more than just flat out range bound trading. Given the overnight, maybe start looking for early strength. We're looking to buy against the 25s, the 20s down to the 14, 15s. We're going to sell against the 16s. 1610s, 1616s for rotations back down. So pretty straightforward. That's had been the demands for you lately. It says 3 levels up, 3 levels down, start off, and then I'll see where they're going to go. Hasn't been a lot of directional moves. They move a little bit up, they move a little bit down, and they're still trading around 116. So this still looks to me like it could be a nice short setup against 16. It's just a little bit early. You have the day session kicking in here in about 5 minutes, so I'm just going to hold off on this one. Taking that trade ahead of that is I'm not. That's usually a little bit more risky because you never know where they're going to go. It could very well be that they run up here to 116 or 1601 and then absolutely pull back right at the open. But it's one of those trades where you wait for the bond open and the initial activity before you start thinking about hopping on a trade. Anyway, so starting off, looking to buy weakness, rotations up. But I'm saying it just depends on what the body does. I'm still looking for setups exactly what you're seeing here. When it stalls like this for several bars, especially when you're out at an upper edge, which we are, and then we just have to just give it a little bit of that is the kind of setup I'm looking for. As I said, given that we're getting into the bond open right now in a few minutes, I'm not going to take this trade. Wait for it to settle in after the first 15-20 minutes, and we'll see if where they're going to go with that. All right, back to the ES and the Nasdaq, and all right, so it looked like the selling stopped a little bit. Bounced off the first level of support, the second level down on the ES 6970 held for now, and the Nasdaq they're almost down in at the 280 area. So there you go. Anyway, we got a starting point for the trading day, and we get the retail sales in about 10 minutes or so. So let's see how the market reacts. Alrighty, guys, we'll wrap it there. I'll see you back at 11:30 for the next update. So good trading, and I'll see you guys back then.